Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining in from. Super excited to be here to be talking about recovering and porting applications in a fast-paced DevOps world. Uh, so far, we've heard a lot of great presentations around the Kubernetes landscape, and Trilio is providing something very unique and something really intricate that helps developers and IT operations to get onto the Kubernetes bandwagon swiftly and start operating in a much more secure and enterprise fashion. So just looking at some market data to begin with, when we look at some sources like the News Stack and CNCF survey, what we notice is that the biggest challenges around Kubernetes adoption, or when you're using Kubernetes today, is around security, storage, and the general complexity around it. When we do think about storage, the first couple of items that do come to mind are around data management and data protection. And even when we do think about security, we all heard Rolando talking about, how we can shift left and, avoid different kinds of attacks. But in case we do, do have our security breached in an organization, you do tend to rely on data backups to be able to restore your organization into a continuous process and to restore your activities as well. So data protection, data management is one of the key items, within a Kubernetes landscape that a organization must be thoroughly thinking through about before or while they're adopting Kubernetes as well. And what we are seeing, via the CNCF survey as well, is that there are a lot of different organizations that have started to use, more of stateful applications within their environments, and up to 55% are using it in production today. So the emphasis on data, emphasis on storage, and the intersection with security is pretty strong. And you do need a solution like Trilio that helps you with data protection, data management, or guarding your organization in all the best possible ways. Now I'm going to talk quickly about Trilio, and what I'll do is I'll talk about the features, and then we'll jump into a quick demo to see how all of this works. And what I'll do first is I'll talk about the main pillars or the main features around the product. So firstly, what we do at Trilio here is we focus on the application. So Trilio Vault for Kubernetes is a completely application-centric product. We protect the data volumes, the metadata associated with the applications, and any other Kubernetes objects that the application interfaces with. Now, what we support are Helm-based applications, operator-based applications. If your applications are just differentiated or separated by labels or by namespaces, we support those as well. One of the interesting and the most intricate things that we've done is that we've built this product against upstream Kubernetes. So any distribution that leverages upstream Kubernetes is directly supported out of the box by our technology. Each and every operation is managed via kubectl. So what that means is that you do not need to learn any new API or any new command line syntax to manage the product. Whatever you're used to manage the Kubernetes environment, you continue using that. The other piece, when we interact with the infrastructure, we leverage CSI. CSI is the de facto standard for storage within Kubernetes. So putting the native Kubernetes aspect and the CSI aspect together, we can run in any environment, whether it's a public cloud environment, private cloud environment, as long as it's a Kubernetes environment, which is CNCF certified, we'll just work out of the box. And there is no infrastructure compatibility that is required as long as there's a CSI driver available. Now, the product, talking about security, one is, you want to make sure your operations are secure, but also from an application introduction into a Kubernetes environment, you want to make sure that whatever you're bringing in has been thoroughly vetted and has been blessed by different certification engines. So the Trilio solution has gone through a lot of different rigorous certifications that have ensured that the product has been built according to the best practices available for a Kubernetes system. And we've gotten these certifications from Red Hat and IBM. There are a lot of reasons why you want to make sure that the data protection or the data management solution that you bring in is very secure, because we have access to all the data. So using permissions around cluster admin, roles for operating are not required, and something that should be frowned upon. And we've made sure that all those pieces are well architected and well operationalized within the Trilio Vault product. Along with the infrastructure compatibility, we provide a lot of enterprise-grade features around hooks to take application consistent backups. We allow you to transform the backups that have been taken. So if you want to exclude certain items from the backup, or if you want to change the YAML definition of certain Kubernetes objects, you can do that as well. And obviously, we have automated policies that can help take backups on a schedule, that can help retain that data around the backups, and also make sure that whatever we are backing up, it's stored and being captured in a very data efficient format. So items like deduplication are all automatically enabled on the backup chain that we store. And along with that, we also have out-of-the-box integration to Prometheus and Grafana. So, within the Kubernetes ecosystem, we've made sure that the Trilio Vault solution, can work anywhere, everywhere, and at the same time integrate with all the de facto or the standard tools that are available today. Now, jumping to the last point on the left-hand side, management console. Kubernetes is complex, and what we have done in order to take that complexity away from the end user, we've provided this management console, which is a multi-cluster console to enable simple click-driven workflows of protecting applications and restoring applications. It also has some elements of application discovery and monitoring available within it. But overall, the management console does reduce the Kubernetes complexity by a very, very large magnitude. Now, how do you get started with Trilio Vault? So firstly, we have a lot of different demonstrations and live environments directly available on our website. So interested folks and customers can log in today, look at all the demos as to how we do or how do we protect and capture your applications, and you can use the live environments to play around with certain scenarios. And then you do have the option to download a free license as well and play around with the product in your own environment. So we have a freemium model where we have two free licenses. One is a 30-day free trial, and the other one is a basic license, which is also free, but up to 10 nodes for an unlimited amount of time. So it's yours forever to use for free. And then finally, we have the Enterprise Edition, which comes with all the premium support, bells and whistles of Customer Success Manager to make sure that you're using the product in the best possible way. And we are educating you constantly as to, what are the best ways of, using Trilio Vault and getting the most out of it. Now, everyone's aware and has seen this DevOps kind of diagram, right? We talk about continuous integration, continuous deployment. How does Trilio fit into this realm? So because of our ability to capture your application and be able to reproduce it in any environment, we sit very well within the test aspect of the CI/CD pipeline. So if we had to kind of double click it, what we see is if you have a cluster which is obviously running Trilio and has been backing up the data to a centralized repository, you can now take all your development code and items that have been or are ready to get into production and start testing them in multiple different cloud environments. So for example, here we are showing that from your on-prem cluster, whether it is for performance reasons or for scalability reasons. You want to ensure that the product or the application is ready, and you can take that application and restart them within AWS and within Azure or Google Cloud environments, and have them scaled and tested accordingly. So along with that, there are multiple different use cases that the Trilio Vault solution enables. So firstly, point-in-time backup and recovery. We'll talk a little bit more about this as we do the demo, where you may accidentally delete a namespace, or you may have some data corruption, and you would want to recover from that kind of an activity. Similarly, let's say you lose your entire cluster and you want to rebuild or bring up all your applications again on a different cluster. So you can use Trilio Vault for disaster recovery purposes. Application mobility, what we showed right now, being able to take your applications from one environment and then use it for test purposes and other activities in different environments. You can do that as well. And then today we all live in a hybrid world. We have some on-prem deployments, we have some deployments which are running in the public cloud, and there is often a need to move these workloads from one cloud to another cloud, whether it is for cost reasons or whether it's for performance reasons. Each organization is different, but the reality of the matter is the need to do the movement of these applications happens very, very often. So as a result, Trilio Vault sits in the middle of all these use cases and enables you, regardless of your persona, whether you're a developer or whether you're admin, enables you to perform all these different use cases through simple click-driven workflows. Now let's get into the demo portion of it, just to kind of tie everything together. What we'll do now is, as part of this demo, we'll look at our management console. But before that, we'll make sure that we have a WordPress application running in our namespace. We will go ahead and delete that namespace and then show how you would use the management console to recover the application and bring everything back up online again. The environment that I'm using is an OpenShift environment, which is running in AWS. From the storage perspective, I'm using the AWS EBS CSI driver. The Kubernetes version is 1.19. And then from a target perspective, I'm storing everything in AWS S3. Okay, so what I will do is, Ron, I'm assuming everyone can still see my screen, right?
Yes, I can see your screen. I will let you know if there's any technical glitches from the audience. Now you're going into Trilio WordPress.
Great, awesome. So this is the WordPress application that I have up and running. What I've done is I've just taken a page out of our public documentation around the architecture, and I have created this page. And what we can do right now is we can quickly look at all the components in the namespace where that application is running. So what we see is there are a couple of pods, there are a couple of services. It has a load balancer IP, which I have, mapped to a internal name. We have the deployments and the replica sets and everything running over here. Now, what we'll do is we will go ahead and delete this namespace. kubectl delete namespace. I can just do it via an OC command, which is easier. Resources were provided. Okay, just to make sure that we are deleting this correctly, I'm going to do this from the OpenShift interface. And what we'll do is we'll look at our WordPress namespace again over here. So it has all the objects running. Go to the projects, and we'll go ahead and delete it from here. Okay, so we'll give it a couple of seconds to make sure it's completely gone. And let's see. Okay, it's deleting all the items. It's only the service item or the service portion of it which is left. Okay, so with that, we'll confirm that the namespace is gone or it's been deleted. Still terminating, so we'll give it a couple of seconds while that happens. And while that is happening, we'll also make sure that the application or the WordPress instance is no longer available. Now, what we shall do is we will look at the Trilio console. We'll log in over here using our kubeconfig file. So it's catered to every user independently. So as long as you have your kubeconfig file, you'll see information that is only available to you. And what we see is that there is no longer the WordPress namespace over here, and we do not have any data around it. Now, since we do not see the WordPress application, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and recreate the namespace. Okay, so the WordPress namespace has been created. To OC get all namespace press, and we see that there is nothing in here. We'll refresh our page to make sure that the WordPress namespace now is visible. And what we'll do is we'll reuse one of the backups that we've taken for the WordPress namespace earlier. So I'm going to click on restore, and in the name I'm going to call this restore angel beat. Oh, not angel pair, angel beat. And we'll get this back into the WordPress namespace. Just going to use this flag skip if already exists to ensure that we don't overwrite any of the cluster scope resources. For example, if you have storage clusters or something running. And I'm going to click next. We can also apply transform components, exclusions, hooks as part of the restore, but we're not going to do that over here right now. So the restore process has started, so it's going to start restoring all the objects into the WordPress namespace that we recreated. Now, just to kind of give you an overview of what the Trilio Work Management Console looks like, on the left-hand side, we have all the different namespaces that you are mapped within the Kubernetes environment. And I'm going to just look at another namespace where we have some more data populated. And what we've done is within each namespace, we have sliced and diced all the different applications that we find in different views. So all your Helm and operator applications are within the tooling view. You have labels in case you want to just do, protect application based on labels or something on those natures. You can back up independent objects. So if you just want to back up your service accounts or persistent volumes, you can do that. And whatever you do protect, we save it as a backup plan so that we can reuse this backup plan tomorrow and reuse it and extend it as your applications grow. Then obviously what we have done on the right hand side of the menu, we have provided a lot of monitoring capabilities. So for example, if we look at this WordPress namespace again, we can look at the different backups that have occurred. I've been taking a few backups this morning for this demo. So you can see those. Similarly, you can see the restore, which is in progress. You can see the different steps that are being taken as part of the restore. Any kind of summary, metadata summary as to what are the different items that are being restored as part of this. So the restore generally takes about a couple of minutes. We let it finish. But just to kind of complete the thought, right now we are doing a backup restore within the same environment, but you can certainly, map your, so this is another cluster that I'm using, which is a Rancher environment. You can, oops, sorry about that. Just need to log in here again. This is a rancher environment, and what you can technically do if you were to do cross-cloud or cross-cluster migrations, you would just map the same target as to where the backup exists, and then browse the target and then restore it from the target. So if your backups are not available locally, so if it's a fresh cluster from a disaster recovery perspective, you can directly restore it from the target itself. We'll go back and just take a look at our restore where we are. So that has completed. Now what we can do is we can run the same command. And we can see that all the objects have been recreated, and the age shows that they were just recently recreated and have not been there from earlier. So I'm just going to take this IP from here. We'll run this in a new tab, and generally there are some DNS settings which take some time to bring it up. Oops, yep. So it's just going to take some time. I'm going to let it load. Let's try this again. And there you go. Now we see that the page is up. Everything has been restored successfully, and your data is back up again. So with that, I'll move back to my presentation and final slide. If you like what you've seen today, definitely give Trilio a shot. You can watch a demo by logging into trilio.io. You can perform test drives of whatever we just saw in this demo, and obviously download a free trial or a basic edition, which are both free from a time-based perspective and from a node-based perspective. So that's it from me, folks. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.